Malo le soifo manuia. I'm Nuali'i Eteroa Lafaele.
And I'm Julia Arnott-Neenee. And this is Tech Voyagers, a series that explores the technology and digital realm as Pasefika trailblazers.
Join us each week as we recap the latest tech news and look into the wins, challenges, and impact of technology in our Pasefika communities. Talofa fam, oh my gosh, it's good to have you back!
Woo!
Another episode, another talanoa, but you're in for a treat for this episode, eh?
I know, it's going to be a good one, these next few ones. How's your week been, sis?
Oh, it's been good. I was in Hamilton watching my nephews under 15s. They had like a nationals.
Under 15s?
Yeah.
Ooh,
but
here we go.
I feel like I'm turning into a rugby mum.
Oh.
Like I'm not a mum, but like you should never put me on so I had to stay away from.
Wait, hold on. What kind of because there's different types of rugby mums or dads or anyone's.
Oysters.
So like, what are you kind of like quietly clapping on the side? Are you out here ready to throw hands? Are you like real vocal? What kind of rugby mum are you?
I'm vocal.
Okay.
Because you got to put the hands down, because it's setting an example.
Oh yes.
But like if someone from the other team says like they came with nothing, I reply saying we came with something. So like real verbal. So my brother had to tell me I can only come to 2 games.
Oh.
Because it was
You've got a quota.
Yeah, just because I feel like they need a ref for the off the sideline, because it's bad, eh? Like,
so we need some regulations around behaviour.
I think so too.
Codes of conduct.
Yeah, and then I act like I played at the All Blacks or at the Rugby World Cup, and I'm like, turn over, boys. Where are you going? Catch the ball. Support. Oh, but I've never played.
Oh, well, you know what? I think that would be like, if I can imagine that in a meeting, I reckon if you were the hype person on the sidelines of a meeting in like a massive boardroom or something, that would be iconic.
I'd have signs. I'd even make a chant.
A chant at a board meeting. Man, I'd love to see it. So in today's episode, and for the next few episodes, we're going to be talking about different intersections of tech and innovation, both globally and locally, in Aotearoa. And we're going to start with biotech and medtech. And really the big purpose around what we're trying to do with these next few episodes is around decoding and demystifying the tech sector. Because I reckon, I mean, I don't know about you, sis, but often when you kind of talk about technology, the first type of job you think about is coding, for example.
Yeah.
But then also the application of technology can sometimes feel like it's really narrow, like it's just computers and phones, or it's just software or websites. And it's actually so much bigger than that.
It's like you can still do that, but for different industries.
Totally.
But it's just we're not aware of it.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
We're absolutely not. So we're going to go through biotech and medtech today. But before we throw into that, as always, we're going to start off with the best ever news that you'll ever come across, which is Etsy on the Beat.
Etsy on the beat. Etsy on the beat. Etsy on the beat. News topic number 1. AI brain implants helps a woman speak for the first time in 18 years.
Wow.
So this story starts off with our beautiful sister, Anne Johnson. We love Anne. And Anne was 30 years old when she had her first stroke in 2005. So when she was 30 at that time, even before the stroke, she was a PE and maths teacher.
Oh.
And she had an 8-year-old boy, and she just gave birth to her daughter. So all of this happened. And then when Anne commented about it now, she said that it just felt like overnight when the stroke happened, everything was kind of stripped away from her.
Wow.
So fast forward to late 2021, Sister Anne then made a choice to go and join an MIT study, which literally changed her life forever. So what changed her life was the study was about helping her speak again. Because when she had her stroke, she had a type of stroke where everything was paralyzed except the movement of her eyes. So literally that was kind of, she did have like a tool to help her to communicate, but she actually thought, hey, now that my kids are grown, it's time to join the study. So the study was, what happened was the team surgically put an implant at the back of her head because that part of the brain is connected to speech. So they implanted it on her head, and then they had these cool cables that connected to a computer. And inside that computer had an AI-generated avatar that one looked like her, but also sounded like her. So this is, I know, right? So how they made the avatar sound like her was the husband actually brought videotapes of Anne before the stroke.
Oh my God, I'm going to cry.
I know. And so they used that as data to help the avatar sound like her. They also had a camera that connected to the computer to also scan her features and motions. So while her brain was sending signals to the computer, it was able to scan her movement. So that was, I know, right? The tech is getting it's like giving hope. And what made it real cute was, and also heartwarming was, since 18 years, Anne was able to speak to her husband for the first time and also sound like her. And that was really, I thought that was cool because, she worked so hard after having her stroke, but then also chose to trust in MIT to create this research. So from the research and also her speaking, the avatar was able to pick up 75% of what she was actually thinking. Wow. So there are still improvements, but 75% is pretty high.
My heart right now, and just the emotion in that, in not only in the story, but in the application of how technology is able to gift someone back something that they lost from an incident that's happened to them, from something that happened in their journey, and just to imagine that moment. To imagine that moment where this, obviously had all this prep time, not knowing if it would work, if it wouldn't work, then to run that test or series of tests prior, but to have that moment, to be in that room, to be part of that for her husband, for her whole family.
Yeah, just small things that we take for granted, just saying, I love you.
Totally.
I imagine them hearing that for the first time for 18 years. Oh my gosh.
But also to think about so essentially that's not telepathy, being telepathic, but a version of being able to connect to the mind, to read the mind, the signals of the mind, and then be able to translate that into actions the outside of yourself.
Exactly. But it's so cool. If you can do that, and because stroke, man, I know heaps of people that have stroke, so that itself gives hope to a lot of people that are going through that.
Oh, absolutely. I think the only other part with it, though, is, how that technology could be leveraged for personal gain for people that could afford access to that technology, but might not have a medical need for it, but are all about trying to further enhance their human performance. For example, if you wanted to be in 5 meetings at one time and your brain's running and your avatars are in all different places and spaces. I mean, I'm just thinking wild. I don't even know if that's a real thing. But
and they
just
connected.
Yeah, totally. How could people take the example of how it's used for good in the medical realm and then actually leverage it for capital gain or for personal gain or, I mean... Watch this space.
I know, right?
Watch this space.
Watch this space. But bless you, Anne. We've seen your love. From here in Aotearoa to you, sis. We love ya. Bless. Well, news topic number 2. Scientists are racing to produce the first IVF embryo incubator in space. If we're going to colonize space, we need to talk about reproduction in low gravity. Ooh, you're weird. So I didn't think of this before, but okay, now I'm thinking of it now. But there's a lot of talk in space at the moment because, there's billionaires pumping into space tourism. And then I think just recently India managed to land on the moon. So a lot of that talk has been happening at the moment. And I think a big thing that people are also trying to figure out is if we are going to move into these different planets, how are people going to survive, but also how do we reproduce in another planet? I know that stuff is kind of in another, it's like a movie, eh?
Oh my gosh. I mean, just even that headline, people trying to race to produce the first baby in space. It's like, what?
Right? What? And imagine if you were the first baby to be hi, I'm Samoan, and also I'm from Mars. I'm half Martian.
I hail from the stratosphere of...
Yeah, exactly. The Milky Way.
Oh my gosh. I mean, and I think the other crazy part is just how, I mean, I don't, we have so many issues on this current planet.
Yeah.
in so many areas that we could be solving for. It's so interesting to see resource and capital being put towards solving future issues of a future planet in a way that's trying to get ahead of basically, saying that planet Earth is at its ends and the only other way for us to survive. So let's start planning and thinking and investing in technology for that versus putting that resource in, trying to solve for here and now. I mean, again, thinking about all the different challenges that exist from gravity, pressure, radiation. I can't even. I mean, of course, I can't imagine whether I've never been to space, but
I don't. But even the fact that it's an option and there's actually, it's like frequent flying. Imagine frequent flyers to space. That would be crazy.
Well, do you remember when we went to Rocket Lab and they gave us an example that there are drugs being created in space?
Yeah.
And they used this example, I think it was for cancer, but that there was a certain type of, I guess, pressure or conditions that needed to be for something to be created. And instead of trying to create those same conditions here on planet Earth, they could actually find them out in space. So they send, or like they produce the drugs in space. So they send out a version of something, a satellite or something, into space, create the drugs, and then the drugs get dropped off. Remember? And they like land in planet Earth, and they go and pick up the and these are pharmaceutical drugs for obviously for some medical needs of some kind. But like,
like that's all it takes is just a dip into space and then you bring it back.
I mean,
so that means it would enhance the. Oh my gosh, because that's what they're trying to do. Is even though they're trying to work on reproducing in space, they're actually trying to improve IVF.
Yeah.
So
So
what they do is what's it called? It's a company called Spaceborne Reunited.
Yeah.
And they're trying to improve IVF by even putting it into space and then bringing it back.
Oh.
So it's trying to improve it because, many of our brothers and sisters are going through that journey.
Yeah.
So it's just, I think, trying to, improve it for more of our people to use. So, it's a very interesting time.
I mean, all I've got to say about that is we just got to dream bigger.
Yeah.
Because if some people are having these dreams about doing stuff in space.
Yeah, and they're already doing it. Oh, man, the sky is the limit. It is definitely the limit, and that is Etsy on the beat. Etsy on the beat. Etsy on the beat.
Okay, so on this talanoa episode number 7, we're going to be talking about biotech and medtech. And to start off with, both Etienne and I have had experiences of working within the medtech or biotech realm, and we're going to be sharing a little bit more about that. And then we're going to move into local innovation, some really cool things that are happening here in Aotearoa. But to begin with, sis, so, what has been your experience and your journey so far around biotech and medtech?
Oh my gosh, I actually haven't spoken that much about it.
No, you haven't.
It's just been more high level.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to learning.
So the sister, before doing computer science, I was really involved in chemistry. So when I was like year 11, I did my first titration competition.
What? Sorry. What is titration?
Oh,
I like gapped it from all the sciences pretty quickly.
Oh, forgive me for those that are listening that are from the field because it's a bit rusty. But it's like an experiment between acid and base. So you'll have, I think the acid is at the bottom. Oh no, the base is the bottom and acid, and you have to you've got to drop little drops of the acid to see when the base changes color, but you've got to calculate the point to the exact point once it starts changing.
Oh wow!
So if you let's say the solution is red, and you have to you release the acid, but you do it drops until that solution red goes clear. You've got to stop. But let's say you
So is it a race? Is it timed?
Yeah. Oh, it's not timed. It's just seeing at what point of the solution caused the change. Oh, sis. Oh my gosh, you should have seen me back in the days. Everyone was going hard out, but it just felt like cooking.
Oh. Well, I mean, sis, I don't cook. Or can't cook.
Man.
Depends what you're talking about.
But honestly, it just felt like cooking. So that's why I was just like, those are good. But then they ended up having regionals. And then national, so the nationals was at Victoria University.
Wow.
And then there was it was funny. Everyone had t-shirts and uniforms. It was me rocking up going, let's just make sure. So I came 4th.
Wow.
I was so proud of myself.
That's amazing. And what was did you have a code name or a...
Eteroa. Because everyone was, because some of them practiced for ages.
Oh, wow.
So that was kind of the birth of my life in chemistry. And then I managed to get a scholarship for the McDermott Institute.
Oh,
So it was fancy as like the whole experience was so cool. So for those that don't know, McDermott is based from a guy called Alan McDermott. So him and 3 others they won a Nobel Prize in 2000 for I think it was like conductive polymers. Yeah, we'll put a link on what polymers and what that stuff, because but it's based off his study, but it's because he's like a Wellington born.
Oh, wow.
Went to Apaha, grew up his whole life, and then so his actual Nobel Prize is at Vic as well. So his whole study field was about nanotechnology.
Oh,
so just like nanotechnology is like the study of very small things that we can't see. And this was me on my first day. Oh, yeah, okay. I'm just here for the scholarship, but we'll figure this out.
I love it. I mean, that in and of itself, nanotechnology, to think about if technology already feels like some really fancy term, then you add nano at the front and it's like, oh.
Yeah, it's got some weird.
What does that mean?
Yeah, it's got like some weird power to it or something. Yeah.
Power.
Power.
So what did you get to work on?
So I actually met a lot of, I didn't know there were big kahunas in chemistry.
Oh.
So there was this big kahuna fella who was, I think his name was something Nan, but I didn't know that he was really well known in nanotechnology.
Oh, wow.
But I worked with him for 2 years and I was just following PhD fellows. So I spent 2 years with all these real smart people in chemistry.
Wow.
And it was just interesting because the way they think is very different. But I did one study on nano batteries. So the reason why I chose it was because you know how in the islands they use solar panels to create power? We had to create nano batteries, which, because, there's not, even though it's tropical, there's not much sunlight.
Oh.
So it was another way of creating energy for remote islands. So I spent 2 years trying to build that with all these fancy people, and it really changed my perspective. But yeah, it caused me to not study because they put me in a dungeon. And that was my life, was under the bottom of the dungeon, thinking about polymers and going, wow, that looks great. Let's write a publication.
Oh, man, that's so fascinating to hear. Again, like a subsection of the industry, and to think the application of it feels really close to what we might need for the Pacific region.
Yeah.
But again, just the process to get there still feels, again, like limited in terms of knowledge and experiences and people that are in that space.
Yeah, and I learned real fast that in the science space, it's all about research. And it's like who can get the fastest paper out to be like the most well-known or expert.
Thought leadership.
Yeah, that's their pumping grace. Like, wow, let's go do this. So it was interesting. Very interesting.
Well, I had quite a different experience to you in MedTech. So I used to be a qualitative researcher, which I think I kind of explained to you before, Sis, which is, all about the study of why do people do what they do, and qual being much more through a talanoa or through in-depth interviews, focus groups, ethnography, like all sorts of different type of methodologies, versus quant, which is very like numbers and data heavy. Data in the sense of numbers. And so with one of our clients was with Cochlear, which Cochlear are hearing implants, which one side is put on the inside of your brain. On the outside, there is an implant that sits in, and it helps people that were born deaf hear or might have hearing impairments. So it's I'd say it's like stronger than a hearing aid, and it has some kind of a deeper process or surgery per se to be able to make the technology work. And my role as a researcher was to understand basically what does a day in the life look like for users. And the user group was 0 to 5 years old, so like really young people, and to understand what happens when different parts of the implant like falls off, what's actually useful about the implant versus what's difficult. So understanding all about pain points, barriers, benefits. Yeah. And the type of research I was doing was ethnography. And ethnography is like the art of observation, if you will. I'm probably getting the exam like rusty. But all about like seeing and watching people in their natural element or in their natural habitat and asking questions. And so I had this incredible journey of doing research in California. Over in America and North Carolina. I'm thinking about where I used to live. North Carolina, as well as back in New Zealand. And at the time I was working in Sydney, and just spending time with families and just, I'd have to like wake up and do a morning session on one day, which is like from like sometimes like 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. and just watching, being there for their breakfast routine, their changing routine, watching what happens when you, if the child needs to go and have their bath or shower, and then how does that work? How do you take it off and on? Then the lunchtime block and then the evening block. And like, I had such an incredible exposure and like privilege to get the in-depth experiences of again, users from a business point of view, but just families. And when I came back, like you pull all of those research together, all of those insights together, and then you collate it up to find the core themes, the core trends, the kind of like moments of truth, all these sorts of things to create a report that's then presented to the product team. So like engineers, go to market, sales, marketing, so that they're all understanding all of those human insights. And I loved that work. I absolutely adored it, especially because the technology you could see in real life, the positive impacts of.
That's cool.
And it was just, it was really phenomenal. And everyone that was working on the tech, it felt like it was really incredibly heart-led because it was, you're changing people's lives. And it's not like, I loved my experience in MedTech. And that was really, for me, what made me want to get into technology further.
That's cool because like from like a dev perspective, you're only just building to conquer out like requirements, but you're actually, it's like you're seeing the work become a family member.
Totally.
That's so cool.
Yeah. It was really precious. It was really precious. So if there was ever like a time to go back and do that work again, it would totally, I would be putting my hand up. Be absolutely putting my hand up.
That's so cool.
Okay, so we're going to give it a little bit of an overview around what's happening here in Aotearoa when it comes to biotech. So currently, there's about 211 companies that fall within the biotech definition in Aotearoa, according to a 2020 report. And it actually creates about $2.7 billion of annual revenue, this one particular segment of the industry. And we're going to give a little bit of examples of biotech local innovation. So we're going to take turns. We're going to share a little bit, chat about it, hopefully spur some inspiration to the field of biotech and medtech. We do want to caveat that we haven't got insider knowledge of all of these companies. We haven't worked for them or with them. We're not necessarily promoting them. We're just sharing that they exist and sort of really encourage anyone who's inspired by them to go and do further research and due diligence if you do want to go and work for them. So just so we're all aware. And the first example is JunoFem. So JunoFem is all about female incontinence, and 1 in 3 women suffer from urinary incontinence, which is I guess to a degree wetting yourself of some degree, whether that's just from walking, jumping, it might be just something that you experience, but 1 in 3 women experience it. And so JunoFem has a product called FemFit, which is a pelvic floor training system.
Oh,
I know. We've been talking about BFT. We go to BFT for our outside muscle training system. I don't know.
She influenced me.
So this is really neat because it's a New Zealand medtech company and it's on a mission to free women from the stigma of urinary incontinence. It's a woman-led team of scientists, engineers, physiotherapists, medical specialists, and they're dedicating all of their time and energy into helping women take charge of their health, regain independence, and resolve pelvic floor or pelvic discomfort. Now, the elements of this sort of technology solution is, one, there is sensors and a device that you can insert inside of yourself, I believe, or insert and then help you understand and pull biofeedback technology. So getting like an idea of what's working and what's not working and kind of have those sensors. It's then got a app which then has a 12-week strength training program, which is really cool.
It's like a BFT.
It is. But you've also, because like when you go to BFT, they have the heart monitor thing, and it that? Oh, you'll find out.
I'll find out.
You'll find out. And it measures, your heart rate, how hard you're working, all that sort of stuff. And like even in sports players, there's all sorts of stuff that they put on them, like what muscles are working.
Yeah.
So my assumption is, I haven't tried it, but my assumption is it's not a similar, but it kind of has it kind of is able to pick up different sensors and different aspects of what's happening inside of you. And then it provides you with a report to a degree, and it provides you with support and in-depth and custom insights around, what's happening for you.
So fancy.
I mean, I think that's just, I think that's amazing. And
That's
I love
cool.
that it's coming from Aotearoa. I love that it's female-led.
I know, right?
And that's just incredible. And it's solving like a really common issue for a lot of women.
Yeah, I like that. It gives me comfort.
Don't you think?
Yeah, I do. Because I'm like, yes.
Also, like 12-week strength training program, like, let's go.
Yeah, for like, for us.
Yeah.
Like it's, I'm going to try it.
There we go. Okay, number 2 is allometry. So I've emceed the High Tech Awards before, and this was back in 2022. This amazing technology solution, they won 3 awards. So like they were like really took out the awards. So they won the most innovative high-tech hardware product, the Tātaki Auckland Unlimited most innovative high-tech creative solution, Soul Machine's most innovative deep tech solution. So they really took out a whole bunch of categories at the High Tech Awards, exactly. And so what it is, so Allometry was founded in 2019. It came out of the science engineering, departments or sort of space at the University of Auckland, which is really cool. But it decodes the gut to transform care. I know. I thought you might like this one too, sis.
Wait, this is the one that they showed the diagram.
Yes,
yes.
So essentially what it is, and I love that this is how they call it. So there's high-res gastric mapping. So it's a stretchable electrode which you place over your over your skin. So it's on the outside. And it's actually able to pick up what is happening in your stomach when you eat a meal. So you've got your app, you've got your sensors on, or your sort of like electrode. I guess what I'm assuming is like electric sensors or something like that. Again, we're not subject matter experts. We're doing our best here. And so as you're digesting something, it's actually able to pick up what's happening in your gastric system and what's working, what's not working. And the data is sent to the Allometry cloud, and it's processed using their advanced algorithm. So obviously picking up patterns, trying to understand and read the data that's coming through. And then a detailed report is generated and then goes straight to your clinician or your doctor to inform your patient care.
Oh my gosh, that's so much better than taking tests. Yeah.
And I guess because it's non-invasive and it's sitting on the outside, and it's able to figure out things like gut-brain disorder, gut hypersensitivity, neuromuscular dysfunction, small bowel systems, gastric outlet resistance. Like it's able to kind of have an incredible range that it could pick up, and the report and everything as well is just. I mean, I think that's also such an incredible, because it's hardware, which is really hard to create. Hardware is expensive and difficult, and it's software, and it's like cloud-based solutions.
Bringing it together. Wow, that's so cool, though.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
I love it. And I love this. Allometry decodes the gut to transform care. I just feel like that's such a
gut-wrenching topic.
I love it, sis. I love it.
We go on with these liners.
I mean, you are. I'm just here to hype you up.
I need one of those. There's 2 on the shopping list now.
On the shopping list. Cool, sis. What have you got to share?
Oh my gosh. So this one it actually cracked me up because of the type of I just never think of it. So this one is called Humble Bee Bio. Buzz. So this is founded by a sister in Wally D, bless go. Her name's Veronica Stevenson, and the sister did a lot of work in sustainability. So there's like a lot, especially in the work of like plastic bags. Because you know how back in the day we used to always get plastic bags, and now it's turned into brown bags and that stuff.
Yep.
So she's a scientist that created a research where she went and researched solitary bees. So these are like very different bees that we're very used to. So these bees, they don't create honey, but they live on their own. But one big thing that this bee does is they actually create nests for themselves. So you'd think it'd be a beehive, eh? Now these guys just extra and go and do their own thing. But it's the properties of how that bee creates the nest, which kind of got Sister Veronica into building the Humble Bee. So for those that don't know, Humble Bee is actually like a plastic bag or a type of biodegradable product. She's got a lot of ranges of biodegradable products, yeah. And all of them have the DNA of that bee. So to tell you a story, let's say the bee is called Sena. Sena goes and makes a nest, and then when Sena does her nest, the nest then breaks down. So it's that property that she's put into the biodegradable bags.
That is crazy.
I know. Like,
do you think the bee has charged Veronica for
has to. Oh, she has to.
I love that.
It's just, and I don't know how. I think maybe it's more research to look into, but it's just how Veronica was able to take the insights and those properties of that bee to come into biodegradable stuff.
Wow.
So a lot of the stuff break down. They last long, but they do break down well for the environment.
Do you know what I love about that is that it's like we're reverting to the environment for the answers to the problems we've caused. Like these man-made problems around plastic, we're now reverting to the natural brilliance of our ecosystem to come up with different types of solutions to what we're... That's amazing.
That's cool. And I didn't even know about these kind of bees. I thought bees were just the same thing.
I know. I love how you said solitary bees. I was thinking loner bees, lone wolf bees.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Hyper independent, don't need no man bees.
Don't need the queen.
I love this.
Bless. But yeah, Sister has an unlock with her biodegradable products. So if you're out there and you want to see it, then holler at the sister because she's got some good products.
We love it. We love it. And so if you are interested in biotech and medtech, you know, we do recognize that there are very few numbers of our Pacific people in this space. And we do tend to see ourselves in the medical fields to a degree. Like that's still an ongoing journey. And I guess we're always here to encourage different opportunities and different pathways. And so we sort of thought like, here's some top tips that we would recommend if you are interested in medtech and biotech. Number one is do some desk research. So jump on Google or on TikTok or on Instagram or whatever it is and have a look around biotech and medtech to see what kind of companies and what kind of solutions exist. And a lot of that is just about building inspiration, building further knowledge. Tip number two, follow the social channels of these companies. Biotech New Zealand is one that is doing reports, releases, events, and following a lot of the tech events that come up as another way to kind of get further information. Tip number three, reach out to someone on LinkedIn. You know, I think you don't know unless you try, right? You're not going to be fun unless you put your flame up. And if you find a company you're really interested in, or if you find someone that seems to be making some really big strides in the field that you'd love to get to know or ask questions about, I mean, there's no harm in trying, right? Always go in with offering, though, not necessarily automatically taking, whether or not that's coffee or lunch or, I don't know, maybe it's a skill you've got that you could exchange to learn more about the space. But a big part about what we suggest is like attending those networking events, getting yourself out there, doing your research, and you never know what doors might open, right, sis?
It might not be a door, it might be a garage door, you know? It's flooding of opportunities. And we know that from experience.
We do know that from experience. All right, is it takeaway time?
It's takeaway time.
Woo!
Here is your order. We'll go to Eustace for the first takeaway.
I love it. Takeaway number one, ding, ding, ding. Every industry is changing. Yeah. So, you know, technology doesn't just stand alone. A lot of traditional industries are changing, like medicine, like the medical field, health, human health, all sorts of different healths across the world. They're having major breakthroughs, and there's no reason why we can't be curious about what's happening and maybe be the ones that create the breakthrough. So curiosity leading into that, and then who knows what's on the other side of it.
Love it, sis. We love it. The takeaway two is kind of like it's similar to Sister's one, and this one is, tech is for every industry. But a big key for my takeaway is that we do forget that the tech is actually, there is a tool or solution, but it's actually that we don't want to forget the main purpose of it is actually our people. So like, you know, for what we've been speaking about, it's always aiming to make solutions for us, or even if it's not for us, it's for our environment. So yeah, just don't forget that, because I think we get very excited in it, but we do forget that at the end of the day, tech is for people as well. So those are our takeaways for this episode, and we hope you like our order. Yes.
Oh, well, thanks so much for listening. This has been a really exciting episode talking all about biotech and medtech.
Yes.
Join us next week where we'll be talking about agritech. If you don't know what it is, tune in.
You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and let us know what you want to hear as well. Until next time, tō whāsoi 4, and we'll see you then. You have been listening to Tech Voyagers, brought to you by Fiberfale.
It was hosted by me, Julia Arnott-Neenee.
And me, Nuali'i Eteroa Lafaele.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you're following Tech Voyagers on your favourite podcast player so you get new episodes as soon as they land.
Join the talanoa and let us know your thoughts using hashtag Tech Voyagers on all socials.
And if you want to know more about pathways for Pasefika people in tech, visit fiberfale.com.